Welcome back, everyone, to another Sunday Instagram Live. We are very excited to be joined by another one of our team ambassador members, Bettina Dahl, all the way from Denmark. So it's early morning for us here in Toronto, and it's a little bit more of a later afternoon for her. So we're excited to jump on. We have a bunch of questions we want to ask her. If you have any questions as we're going through our conversation, please drop it down below, either in the comments or in the question box, and we will make sure to get to it. I know she has a little one, so we're going to give her a little bit of time to settle everyone in, and then we'll get started. Hopefully, maybe Zach will be able to join us for a quick little wave. If not, we'll hopefully try and get him next time. So, like I said, if you have any questions, I'm going to let her do her full introduction because she has a little bit of I want to say not all elements of boxing, but she's dabbled in a few different areas and she's done some really amazing things. So I'd like for her to explain her full experience, but we'll wait for her to get in here and then we will get started with learning a bit more about her. Just so if you don't know who Bettina is, you didn't read our kind of bio that we did on her, I guess a few months ago, then you can listen in and then ask any questions from there about any of her experiences she's had from herself as a boxer, now as a coach, and moving forward from there. So I've just invited her to join us, and when she gets in, then we will get this party started. So hang tight. Hey, Bettina.
Hi, how are you?
You?
And good morning.
I was just saying it's our morning, or for anyone else that's joining kind of in North America, and then it's early evening for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You've had the full day already.
Yeah, I have, yeah. It's nice.
So I guess the way we always kind of like to start this is for anyone that doesn't know who you are, because we do, if you want to just, as long or as short as you want to make it, kind of your boxing journey from when you started and to where you are now.
Okay, yes. My name is Bettina and I am 34 years old. I started boxing around 2004, I think it was. Um, and it was kind of a coincidence, how do you say it?
Like a coincidence to how you kind of got involved.
Yes, exactly. I have always seen boxing in the TV, but didn't know anybody was that was boxing in my family. But then when one day we were at one of the cities, there was like some kind of open city, and there was some boxing clubs there, and they had a show. And then the boxing coach came to me and my twin sister and asked, "Do you want to try?" And we were like, "Yeah, we're gonna try." And now I'm sitting here actually after so many years. I think I got like it was something new. It was hard and it forced me to develop the whole time mentally and also physically. So it challenged me the whole time. And for me, I've done many things in my life. I was also in the military for 8 years. I was in Afghanistan. So I think this challenging myself is a part of me. And boxing did that and have been my support through my whole life, actually. Yeah.
And if you
So
can remember, how many amateur fights did you have?
I think it was around 64 before I had to stop. Yeah. I got sick, so that's why I had to stop. So I was not ready to stop, but yeah, sometimes that's life.
Sometimes your body tells you, unfortunately, that you need to pause, but you've turned it
Yeah, exactly.
into something else as well too, right? You've taken all of your knowledge and your experience from being a fighter to now
Yeah.
kind of, if you can go into Ladies Boxing United, and as well as just what you're doing in general in terms of coaching.
Yeah, I think first I want to tell about, I think it's important for everybody that knows about boxing, that have been in boxing for many years. You kind of get like sucked into it and it becomes a family, and the way the whole boxing community are in many countries. It also made me, when I had to quit boxing, I got like an identity crisis. And I think it's important to say, because when you have been in boxing for so many years, or it could be another like elite sport you have been doing, it's hard to figure out who I am after you quit. And I was like, how can I do? What can I do? For me, I was Bettina the boxer, or I was Sergeant Dahl in the military. But now I lost one of my identities, and the other one was like I also quit the military, so I did something else. So who was back of me? So I had to build up like a new person, and I was like, I knew I want to give back to the boxing, because I gained so much knowledge from both being in the boxing community, the fights, the different clubs I have been in, different coaches that I have had. So I had to give it back. So I became a coach instead.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think that it's super important to, because like you have anyone I think that's been in the boxing world for that period of time, you've learned so much that it's almost like you need to give it back in some way, right? Whether it's coaching a small group
exactly.
of people or being involved within like your, sport organization, whatever it may be. Everyone is like, and especially any of the new coaches, like they're now just like, I feel like I'm still a new coach and I'm still like trying to like absorb as much information as I can from all the other coaches that have been around for years and that have had such a great
Exactly.
kind of amateur background as well too, because that's
Yeah.
given them extra educational tools to give me.
Yeah, and how do you go from being a elite boxer to become a coach? Because just because you're a good boxer doesn't mean that you're a good coach.
Yeah.
And suddenly I was standing coaching my teammates I have been boxing with on the national team. Suddenly I was standing with them, and I was standing in the corner instead. How do I do that? Get the respect as a coach also. One thing is that we have respect for each other as teammates, but what about now when I'm a coach?
How was that
So
transition? Because that can be very tricky from teammate to superior. How did you find that being coached in the
I
corner for your national team after being on the team yourself?
I think it's you have to be another kind of professional, because when you're teammates, you can joke and you can have fun. You can like poke to each other. But here you have to lift up the boxer on a totally other level, like mentally and physically, and believing in themselves. But I think because of my many years as a sergeant in the military, I used to have like that kind of hat on too, be the serious one and being the one in charge. So for me, I never had a problem with it actually.
I was going to say that is a very unique previous job to have. And I think
Yeah,
that it's probably helped you in many ways as a coach and as a boxer
exactly.
in the sense of, that focus and that kind of, one drive mentality, I think is
Mm,
very much so what boxers do, right? Like it's,
exactly.
especially when you're leading up to a fight, it's like that is all you're thinking about, all you're focused on, making sure that you're getting, your meals in, your training sessions in, and doing everything you can for that. And I think that I've never done anything in the military, nor do I want to, but from what I know and understand is that it's, it is very, dedication, determination, focus, very similar
Yeah.
aspects of a boxer and someone that is training for a fight. So do you think that helped you transition easily into the sport?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because one thing is I have been standing in the ring. I know what's going on mentally, but also I have seen from the military when I have like I don't know how to call new student in the military that have to learn. When they are out on how is that called on English? Like camp, when they have being out training for days. Uh, the aspect when you move away, their sleep, their food, like the information about what's gonna happen, the way they start thinking, and the way they be insecure on themselves if they can do it. It's kind of the same what's happening in boxing, I think, when you start focusing about your opponent, you start focusing about all the things you cannot do anything about, because you don't get the food, you don't get the information, because we have to figure out how far we can bring you.
Yeah.
And it's the same, like you cannot control your opponent. So
Right.
it's always like I have all this knowledge about how the body is reacting when you are in these stressed situations. So it's always about what can you do? You can do yourself, like you can control yourself, you know what you can do. And it's like one step at a time. So always go back to the strategy the coach have, or the strategy we had in the military we were training for.
So is there, now I'm curious to know this myself, is there anything that, let's say a particular training piece you learned in the military that you use in boxing? Is there any particular, like, I don't want to say ritual, or is there any particular mental training or anything that you do either yourself or for your boxers?
I think I have a story I actually want to tell, because when I was in training in the beginning of my career, and we have like this 4 months of basic training, and that time I was 18 years old and I was insecure on myself, and we were out at one of these like 3 days out in the nature to practice the military basic, and we had been walking like the whole night, and I was tired. I have a heavy bag on my shoulders, and I was walking, and the rest of my group was going in front of me, and they were like, I don't know, like 10 meters in front of me. And then my sergeant came down to me, and he was walking beside me, and he was like, why are you walking here? And I was like, I can't follow the others, I'm tired. And he was like, okay, now I'm watching you, and you have had exactly the same distance to the others for the last 20 minutes. So you can easily follow the others. So don't like feel sorry for yourself and go behind them, because you have been following in the same distance for 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, did I? You know, this when you get self-pity and don't believe in yourself, but it became so visual there. Like, yeah, I felt sorry for myself, but I actually hold the pace, and I was following them and everything. So why shouldn't I go with them? And I think that's the same in the boxing. When you're boxing, why don't you want to stand beside the good ones? Why don't you believe in yourself and don't trust yourself and being number second when you could be number one actually? So who do you want to follow? Like, be self-pity, or don't believe in yourself, or believe in yourself and then actually walk with the strong ones?
I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting that you say that, because I know even for me, like I'm going to go back to just my story, and I think this can be very similar for a lot of other, I'm going to say female boxers because that's predominantly who I work with. But I remember when I first wanted to fight, I was like, am I ready? And I felt the need to get like approval from my coach, not from myself first. Do you know? Because I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I can't do it. And he's like, no, you can. And I was like, I can? And
Yeah.
it's almost, and that's the time when I was like, okay, I guess I can. And so I
Yeah.
find a lot of the case with even some of our girls that we work with is that they don't believe in themselves enough that they think they can do it, even though they've been training for, a decent amount of time and are ready. And part of it
Yeah.
might have to do with the fact that they are a little nervous because it's not something that should be taken lightly. But I think there's a lot of, am I ready? And not giving
Yeah.
ourselves permission enough to say that we are
Yeah,
personally
exactly.
before we ask someone else for approval.
Yeah, exactly. And we should always trust on ourselves, because if you have done the work that your coach told you, then you are ready no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And it is okay, and it's okay to lose a fight. It doesn't mean that you are not ready. That means that your opponent was better, and we have to change the strategy as a coach so you become better too.
Yeah. So one question, just to kind of like dial it down and lighten up maybe the mood a little bit, because talking about I guess the war and stuff is a little bit less exciting, I don't know, maybe than boxing. Do you remember your first fight?
Yes, I do. My first fight was actually, I think, was it like 2004,
Okay.
and it was planned to be our home club fight
Okay.
uh, against a girl from a town just beside. So she also started. We started kind of the same time, so that would fit perfectly. But then I got a call, and they said like, could you fight the same girl that you have to meet in 2 weeks in like 2 days, because they have a home fight too, and her opponent just said she could not fight her. And I was like, yeah, yeah. So we went there and fought her, and she turned back a week after and fought me again in our fight night. But I was like, I was so stressed in my head. I mean, really, I have no idea what's happening, and I just got hit, and I was so bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the worst experience ever. But I did it
Okay.
again 2 weeks after, and I could feel already 2 weeks after. I was like, okay, that was kind of better, but I also lost one more time. I lost actually my first fight.
Okay. And so that's very interesting. I didn't know that. How does that propel you to move forward? Are you the type of person where that loss was like, okay, now I just want to win? Or did it deplete you for a little bit and then you kind of got yourself back together to do it again? Because that's very difficult for someone, to lose and then to come back and then to lose again and come back.
Yeah, I think all my losses was hard. It's like I don't think anybody like to lose no matter what. But I think what made me go back, I think I had no choice. What should I do else? I mean, that started becoming my free time to be in the boxing club there. So I had and I could feel the boxing coach, he believed in me. So I was like, I needed to go back. Where could I be else? Like I had the school and I had nothing else. So I needed to go back, and yeah, I lost my fights, and I just had to figure out to continue because I like the environment and I like to stand in the ring. Yeah.
And then you ended up getting on the national team a few years later.
Yeah, not a few years. It took a lot of years. I think my first fight on the national team was in 2014 or 15. So I had like a long road where I had also been boxing in different clubs, and many of the coaches told me like, you're never gonna be a national team boxer, uh, and you're not good enough. I figured out many of the coaches said that after, and I was like, I can feel I got sad when I figured out some of the coaches have told other coaches that I was not good enough.
Oh, so
But it was also like
they
they
never
never
told you.
told me direct. They never told me directly, but I've heard it after that they didn't believe in me, so they didn't want to use time on me. So my most of my boxing career, I was coaching myself. I was going out sparring for myself,
Wow.
and it's really hard for a boxer to go out and spar and see what you do wrong, because when you're a boxer, you always try to do your best. You always think you do your best. So I had to coach myself, had to like show myself technical skills, and have to figure out how do I run, how do I get in condition, and all
Wow.
these kind of things.
Wow.
So it was first when I got like structure in my training, I figured out that I actually can become a national team boxer.
So it's a very unfortunate, sad story, but it's nice to see that your hard work and your persistence paid off to get there.
Exactly,
And
and I got a lot of knowledge from it also. When there's coming structure in training, and for first time you have a coach that believe in you, you start believing in yourself. And I know you have to find it in yourself first also, but it helps when the coach is believing in you. If they don't believe in you, they don't spend uh, the time on you either, on the good time on you. So you need a coach there that dare to spend some time on you also.
and was that coach on the national team, or did you find a coach before that gave
I
you that?
found I found a coach. I found a coach before that, but that club I was in that time also had the national team coaches. So there was also a lot of national team boxers in that club, and I was there only for a year. But that taste, I was there and tasted how could boxing be on another level.
Mm-hmm.
Helped me also. I knew what club I wanted to go to after. because the coaches there went to Germany, and it's coaching on the national team in Germany now instead.
Wow. It's very interesting as well too, how one coach can make a huge difference, right? Like going from maybe, let's say, your first coach to that last coach. I'm assuming
Yeah,
if there was any way to check, you know, your determination, your level, and your just excitement for the sport, I'm sure it was a huge changeover. And
definitely.
it's scary in the sense that, you know, it can really, you know, you may have stopped. Luckily enough, you didn't. You decided that you wanted
Yeah,
to do it. But there's a lot of, I'm going to say females and males, because I'm not just going to exclude them from this conversation. But, you know, if
yeah,
they don't get that attention, or if they don't get that uh, like validation, then it's unfortunate, you know, and it's sad that you had to go through that. But I'm very glad. I think it's also given you a very interesting coaching style, and I think it's
yeah.
probably given you a very different lens for when you are talking to your athletes.
Yeah, definitely. And I also like, that's also my philosophy, because most coaches, also on the national team, mostly they look at the results. And if you have good results, of course you get a try on the national team. And I think that's like all over the world kind of. But we should not forget the girls that actually have potential, but didn't have the opportunity to let it grow yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to look at the different aspects of a boxer. If they have something mentally, I think, okay, that's like really valuable in boxing. Do they have a great physique? Do they have like the way they look about the movement pattern, or whatever? If I can see something that can grow into the rest of it, I love to work with them. And they can have lost the first 25, I don't care. But if I can see something, a little spark of something, I will try to fire up in that spark and put the rest together to build up the boxer.
I think that's awesome, because I think typically, you know, you look for the well-rounded, which is
Yeah,
it's easier to do and work with, obviously, than only having one element of the full wheelhouse. But I think it's really
yeah,
interesting that you've decided that, again, I think you're thinking outside of the box more than the typical coach, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think it's
I try
also
that.
because of your experience, right? You've seen various coaches, and I
Mm.
guess kind of from what you were raised into with the boxing community and in Denmark to now, how would you say it's changed? How would you say it stayed the same? What is the difference now, would you say?
I think there's a huge difference. We start training more smart. In old time, it was like die, go home for 1.5 hour of training. And it could be like 100 push-ups before you had to go in and spar, and it make no sense. Your arms are dead before you go in to spar. So in that sense, I think we got more knowledge about how to train, how to um, take care of ourselves in the boxing, because boxing is a hard sport, and if you don't uh, put a good program together, where you can have a life beside also, because you also have to have like another identity, so it's not only boxing. If you only have boxing when you lose, and you only have that identity when you lose, it's like heartbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's break you down. But if you also have an identity beside, it doesn't hurt that much to lose, and you can use the personnel or the identity beside to grow the identity as a boxer also, because here you are like, you have success in school, you have success in family, you have success as a mom, whatever it is, and you can use that also to get success in boxing, so you don't lose that much. And I also think from when I started, there was like no girls really. I have been fighting in all kind of weight classes. I was, even if I was 56, 57 kilo that time, I was also fighting one on 71 kilo.
Okay.
So you did that to get fights. So now you can stay in your own weight class, focusing about become good in that weight class, because there's more girls. And I think, of course, also the federation got more into that we need to do more for girls. Actually, that's also why I became the coach on the Danish development group for girls.
Yeah, and
So
I
that
want
was
to kind
also.
of talk about that and ask, what initiatives are you looking to bring, and what is the female development committee there trying to do for females? What are your, let's say, what is the mission?
The nice thing was I have to like take it from the beginning. The good thing was like I stopped becoming coach in a club. So they called me from the federation and asked if I want to take part in building up to have this development group, because they could see there is a need in Denmark, and there is. So I was a part of building all the frames about how I saw this could bring a value to the Danish female boxers. So it's a lot about, have to the female boxers we have in Denmark. We have to get them more knowledge. We have to help the clubs and the coaches about what is female boxing and where can you go to tournaments. How is the female brain thinking? How can you train a female boxer? There is also something like you have the period one time a month. How does that impact the trainings? And also they need to come together in a community so they know they are not alone, because most of the girls is training together with 20 boys and they are one, maybe two girls.
Right.
And when you start growing like girls up in a club, there's coming more girls.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have like one, two girls that is like, I don't care about these old boys, I will be here, I will train here because I like it, they attract more girls suddenly, and suddenly there's a club maybe with six girls in. So it's also about helping the clubs to build in that part of community that they can have more girls. So that was kind of the frame for it, and of course having like a red line into the national team. So it was also about give them experience and knowledge in how is it to be on camps, how is it to go out for tournaments and have another coach in the corner like you will do if you're on a national team. How is it to be tested in like running, in strength when a coach is looking at you? So like all these kind of aspects. So when and if you go on a national team, you don't have to be nervous about that. You can concentrating about being you and develop.
I think that's awesome. It's so important, and it's funny that you kind of highlight all of those things, because I know for us in Canada here, most of our athletes are used to their own coach, and then they'll go to an international competition and they don't
Yeah,
have that same voice in the corner. They don't
yeah.
have, so they're not used to, and it's different styles. Every coach is different. I just want to see, there was a question that just came in. Why is training with all girls important for those male coaches who still don't understand the need? Uh, let's get you to answer that question, and then I can kind of follow up with that. Why do you think it's important for the male coaches to better understand these female athletes?
To understand them or to have and the girls are training together.
Why don't answer both? Answer both, because I think they're both important.
I think it's like girls can get good sparring with boys, can get good training with boys, and they should also train with boys. Uh, it's not about that, because they get good experience out of each other, definitely. But they still don't box totally on the same way, girls and boys. So there is also a bit of movement pattern that is different, and it's always when you're sparring a boy and he's like maybe a bit bigger than you, he's faster, you also know he's stronger, you can maybe be there on a technical level and tactical level, be as good as them, but you cannot change the physics no matter what. So it sometimes it can be hard to go 100% in against a boy if you know you get punished. But if you can have the opportunity to have a boxer, a girl on the same level as you, so you can manage where am I. So it's also about where am I in my level of boxing, so I can grow my self-confidence about where I am, also international. So I think it's important in the community about how it is to be a woman boxer in the clubs, how is it to be a woman boxer out to tournaments, and all these talk that is behind, because boxing is not only about going down training and going home, it's the whole community.
Yeah.
So the talk that is before, the talk that is after. And then when you have it like a girl on the same level as you, you will go all in. It's like a war, and it's like a nice war on a good level. And I think that's important, that women can feel that where they are, so they get the trust in themselves. Yeah.
I like both of those answers. I'm gonna leave it at that. And so I know kind of early on when we had done your more lengthy bio, one thing that you had said is, the importance of education is so important for boxers. As a coach now, what is something that you make sure that you offer and educate your athletes on that you either didn't learn or have learned over the years is super important? You can say one or two things that you find. I know it's a loaded question, but you can give me
Oh, sure.
like, if you can't narrow it down, give me three things that that you always make sure that all your athletes know and are educated on, or at least given some form of knowledge about.
I think it's important that you can move in different movement patterns. Um, that that you cannot only do, like, the traditional boxing, one of the feet in front, and then follow that pattern. But I think it's important that you can move more free, and you can sometimes put your right feet in front, the left feet, you can move to the sides, you can go around. So I think that they that they need to grow a big movement pattern, so they not get locked, because there's no boxers that box on the same way. So you have to have the ability also to change compared to what boxer you're standing in front. So I would say the movement pattern that should be big. You should dare to play and do different movements in the ring.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. And I think something that was really interesting that one of our coaches told us coming back from Women's Worlds is that even though there were, I don't want to get this wrong, but I believe there were over 400 female athletes at that event. She said there were very few female coaches. What is the
Exactly.
female coach market like in Denmark? Is it very small? Is it medium? Is it growing, at least, if it's not very big right now?
It is like there's coming more like general females in the boxing world. I have to figure out what is it called in English. When you're not the head coach of the club, but you control the club. What is that called in English?
I mean,
You know what I mean?
like the manager of the club.
Yeah. That's actually a lot of women, old women boxers that became managers in the club. So that's also give the clubs a new way of thinking. And there also come more women coaches. So that's really nice, actually.
That's
More head
awesome.
coaches also in Denmark.
That's great, because I imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you were boxing, what was the female coach situation like? Zero?
I only know of one.
Okay.
Her name was Malene, and I loved her. She was amazing. She was also an old elite boxer from the national team that turned over. So I think, like, in general, we should be good in the boxing world to take these old boxers and bring them into coaching, because they have so much knowledge. And how do you do that? As I talked about before, it can be hard to stand in the ring and then after coach. So we have to think about how can we do that so they stay in boxing.
I think there's lots of different ways they can they don't have to necessarily be a coach one-on-one, but they could do coaching sessions with other coaches. Like there's so many ways that they can spread their knowledge, because as we kind of mentioned earlier, they have so much that they can give back. And whether that's with a single athlete or multiple athletes or multiple coaches, I think that there's a way for them to still spread their knowledge. Did you ever work with that female coach?
Yeah, I was. That was the club I was in when I figured out that I can actually box.
And do you think she was part of that? Do you think she was part of that
Yeah,
switch?
definitely. And she was the first one that made a structured running program. So that was first time I figured out that I was actually I came in shape because it was structured and I knew I was in good shape. And always, when you're new, you're in good shape, then you can also perform better in the ring because you trust what you did.
Well, I guess you're also like anything else, anytime you're less confident with what you're doing, it's a lot harder for you to flip that switch. If you're not
Yeah.
thinking you're in shape, then you getting in the ring, you're not going to feel like you're in shape.
Exactly. You only do 50%. And I think that's also why it's important if you work with boxers, then if they didn't do the training programs and they are lying about it, it's hard to coach them to believe in themselves.
Right.
Because if you ask them, did you do your training program? And they said yes, you would coach them in that mindset that they did it and tell them like, okay, I know you did your training program, so I know you can do it because the program is totally like you're peaking at this tournament. But if they have not been honest about doing the program, you will still go as a coach with that mentality, coaching them in that area, but then they will get more insecure in themselves. But if they will be honest and say, okay, coach, I didn't do my training program totally, then I will coach them on a totally other level and tell them like, no matter what, you are ready. I know that's why I brought you here. I've seen you in the training room. I've seen you. You are in good shape. You can do your technical thing and all these kind of things. And then I will raise them. Uh, I will raise them on that level. So I think it's so important also that we trust each other and we can be honest if you did the program or not did the program because it's so important for you as a coach to let them grow in the ring.
Now, that being said, I would imagine once they start working, you can tell whether or not they've done the full program, correct?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
But
was gonna say it's
that can
it's
still
hard to
be
hide
like
that.
yeah, but that can be too late when you're standing in the ring.
Right.
It can be it can be too late to help them mentally. They
Okay.
can be
That
so
makes
broken mentally that it's so hard to get them to believe in yourself. It's better if I know it before the fight, then I can lift them up there. But in the ring, when they already see, oh, it was a bad first round, and I tell them like, no, it was a good first round. You're winning the first round. They already have this, but I didn't do my training program. I didn't do my training program, and it's so hard to like switch because they are now in a stress situation, more
right.
stress situation because they're actually in the fight and we only have like 1 minute before you have to go out again.
I know we briefly touched on it earlier, but you do work with male athletes as well, correct?
Yes, exactly.
What would you say, working with them and working with females, what would you say are some differences that you've noticed and that you either have to change your style or you have to change maybe your wording? What do you change? What do you keep the same between male and female athletes?
I think no matter what, I need to change my style compared to the box. It doesn't matter if it's like female or male, but it's about the person I'm standing in front. But I think there's a slight difference because women is raised on another level than men. Women are raised to be perfectionists, where men is more like have to be brave. So of course there is a huge difference how to coach them. Um, and women is more like they're more ready to talk about the mental game in boxing. So I experienced that I have to be more mental in the talk with female boxers, and with male boxers, I think they also need it, but they don't say it, and they are more ready to talk about the technical, tactical part in boxing.
Interesting. I would agree with that. It's very interesting how the mindset is very different on both.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Uh,
So, something that you've been working on, I want to say over the last few years, because I don't know exactly
yeah.
when you started, but you had started the Ladies United Boxing Club. And
Yeah.
I'd like for you to share a bit more about it, because even though it's called Boxing Club, it's not a facility boxing club itself. So I guess let us know a bit more about it and what you do, because I think that's how we actually found you was through that.
Yeah. It's not like called Ladies United Boxing Club, but Ladies United BC, because there is more concepts in it, and it's something we are still working on. And it started with the Ladies United Boxing Camp.
Okay.
So BC is many things, and I will also tell a bit more about it. But because of that, I have to go out and find my own sparring, find my own training. When I was a boxer, I got a lot of connections, and these connections, I figured out that okay, there is a lot of other girls that need sparring, that don't have any sparring, that don't have any community. So already when I was a boxer that time for many years ago, I started making small camps to like make girls come together and spar, and doesn't matter level, doesn't matter experience, doesn't matter weight classes, everybody could spar with everybody. Uh, and then it kind of grew, and I got my good friend from Sweden, Nora Guslander. She started helping making the logo, so it's like here. And she also like designed this T-shirt for Pride for 2 years ago.
Awesome.
Uh, and when I saw the logo and we found the name, I was like, okay, actually, it can be a brand. I mean, we can grow this bigger. So then we also, when Corona started, we made it Ladies United Boxing Chat, where we talked with some of all the boxers I have met, coaches I have met, talked about their career, their goal, what challenges and things to they see in boxing, and the things, good things that are coming. So we have also like the boxing chat, and then of course it's on a boxing channel on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And but we want to grow. We also want to grow a boxing club in Denmark. I hope that we can do that in the next 2-3 years. So we have a local facility also, because that's something we want. And it should not only be for girls, but there should be like a girl team, of course. But there should also be males, and there should be mixed class, because I think it's important.
Can I just
Yeah,
jump
and
in and can I just jump in and ask, because I think it's important for you to share, is why do you think it is important for there to be males there as well? I think I know the answer, but I want you to explain why is it important with a female club to also have the males there?
I think the whole atmosphere, they give another energy into the training, and the girls need that. And the same, the other way around, the girls also make a good energy for the boys in the training. Um, the skills, the levels, everything. I cannot see anything bad in it, but I can say girls also need girls only.
Yeah.
They say it on that level. Yeah.
I agree. I think that, as you kind of mentioned earlier, if we're saying that the males are typically more uh, focused on the physical, and then the females are more
Yeah.
focused on the mental, they complement each other very well, right?
They
So
could definitely.
I think I agree with you in the sense that I just wanted to hear if you had thought the similar thing.
Yeah.
It's very important, I think, for both. And I think the as you were saying, the females can, help the males understand or work more on
Yeah.
their mental, and then the males can really amp up the females to
Yeah.
work on their physical. So I think it's a neat opportunity. And again, it also brings together some male coaches that again have experience and education to bring
Exactly.
to both sides as well too.
Yeah, it gives some balance because it's not only about the mental. When it's women, it's a lot about mental talk also. And here we got like more talk about technical, tactical, and keep the strategy in the ring. So I think the balance is good when they train together also. Yeah.
And so far, so then you've just been working out of other gyms and clubs, is that correct? Like you'll, yeah.
Yeah. I'm helping around like when I need help with different boxers, I'll go and help them. And at the moment, I have because I'm not in a club at the moment, but I still help with coaching. I help with make training plans, a year plan, what competitions could be good. I also do a lot of that's also through Ladies United, where I do Ladies United boxing corporations, where I how is it called? I am matchmaking for female boxers in Denmark to find opponents because it's hard for the clubs if they don't have the network because they are not that much out. I have been out for many years. I know a lot of girls, so often they call me, Bettina, the boxers, my boxer should meet tomorrow. She just canceled. Can you find one? And then I'm calling around to different countries here in Europe. I know, and then whoopsie, I have a boxer for them.
I feel like
So, oh,
you're the Lee Smith of Europe.
yeah,
Because that's what she does here. She's if you need any sparring outside of Ontario or you need to find a match for any fight
yeah,
coming up, she is the person to ask because she knows so many connections. You know, very similar to you. She's met so many coaches over the years, so many athletes that she has. I don't know where she hides it all, if she has an Excel spreadsheet or if she just has like a paper,
yeah,
but she has it all. And we have something, I guess more of a comment, that we need to normalize having female coaches around
yeah,
and
definitely.
standard, not as a novelty. And so I think that's part of your female development committee as well too, is including more women coaches, correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I think in at least in Canada, and I shouldn't say all over, but more so in Ontario, we're starting to see more female coaches at least getting certified so that they can start coaching.
yeah,
And which is, it's nice to see because, very similar to seeing other female athletes in the gym, it's also more, let's say, warm or welcoming to also see a female coach in the gym as well too.
but we should also dare them because I see more female coaches, but I see them as second coaches. I would
Right.
like to see the female coach stand in the ring and coach because I'm happy that I can do that. But I think more should dare to step up and say, I want to be in the ring to coach too. I don't need to be the border woman here. I can stand in the ring, I can coach too. And I think I have to say like Sweden. In Sweden, I'm good friend with Elina Skohan. She's national team coach in Sweden. And in Sweden, they built up a women community about Olympic 2024. So they picked out 18 female coaches from different sports. She's one of them from boxing to make them ready to stand in the Olympic as a female coach. And I
That's
think that idea is so amazing. And I think more countries should do the same or go together and do it together. Because what Sweden is doing now is amazing.
I think that's fantastic. I haven't seen that, and I think that again, it's you the I know we always say it, but you need to see one to be one, and I think that we don't see it enough. Like we don't see very many women in the ring in the corner. And actually, last night, I will say I was very excited to see. I don't know if Stevie's still on here, but Stevie's wife Sarah was, in the corner last night with Lucas Body, who was fighting for a title, who won. Congratulations!
Wow.
And it was like I was. It's sad that I was shocked to see her in the corner. If it's bad to say, but or even myself, I was in the corner for the first time ever 3 weeks ago, and
And how
I was the only female coach in the corner in general, like not even on the floor, like anywhere. And so it can be intimidating to
yeah, definitely.
so it's finding that balance of giving the women the permission to do so and to ask for it, to ask to be in the corner so that they can get the experience, because it's a lot of pressure, or at least I felt it was a lot of pressure. Like I was like, I feel like I'm fighting. Like I felt like I was fighting, because it comes down to executing the plan and everything like that. But I think it's important for other people to see women in the corner. So I think that's awesome that Sweden is doing that. And hopefully other countries will see that and start to do the same.
Yeah, and also they don't only aim for, of course, getting more female coaches, but they aim for getting female coaches at the Olympic. Right. And I think that is the important part. They aim for the highest, but then it's also like it needs to be 2024, but because 2028 we are not in Olympic anymore boxing. So
I know, I don't want to talk about that.
No, that's really sad.
It is really sad, but especially for all the athletes, like keep training. You don't know what's going to happen. Things can, who knows? Who knows? So I'm going to leave it. Last questions, if anyone does have any for you to ask, either in the question box or in the comments. And I guess if there's anything that you are doing that you'd like to share, is there anything upcoming, either with Denmark female boxers? Is there anything that's happening with Ladies United? Please let us know. We're going to include obviously all your, your social handles and everything that you do in the comment section. But if there is anything that, you're doing or Denmark is doing or any of your athletes are doing that you'd like to share, please you have the floor to do so now.
Yeah. I think we should just continue in the direction of educating boxers. Instead of just training them, we should start educating them. They need to use their brain more, the boxers. And it's about education. Educate them in food, educate them in weight, educate them in the technical, tactical plan, educate themselves in the body and in the mind. Because then we get more healthy boxers, instead of you're training them and they're only listening, but they don't know why they're doing what they do.
I think that's great. That's a great way to end it. I think it's a great kind of closing. It's super important. And I think if anyone does have any questions, I'm sure they can reach out to you and ask you.
Oh, definitely,
about any of those areas that you think are important to educate. I'm going to say any athlete, right? Any athlete in the boxing community on. And other than that, thank you for being a part of our team. Thank you for joining us on here. And we look forward to doing this again soon.
Yeah, and thank you to you also for the work you do in Canada and trying to grow over the borders of Canada. That's amazing, I think. And it's also bring a community for me to know even more coaches and boxers around the world. I think it's amazing. You have a strong ambassador team.
At one point, we are gonna do a Canada-Denmark training camp. So I don't know when. I can't say when, but if anyone is interested, anyone is welcome to join us. You don't have to be from Canada or Denmark. We will let everyone know in our community, and you'll let everyone know in your community when that will be. But hopefully we'll say, I'm going to say soon. I don't know when, but sometime soon.
Hi, Zach.
Do we have a
Yeah. Come, little boy. Come here.
Hello.
Hi. Wait. Say hi. He was missing me. I could hear him outside. He was crying a bit.
Oh, well, we're delighted to have you join us. I actually said at the beginning, hopefully he'll at least come on and say hello.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll let you have some good family time. Have a good night. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.